Another season of disappointment, another season of pain, and another season of underachieving. Welcome back to the Mets Ship Pod, everybody. I'm your host, Mets Ship Hosting. So, today, the Mets just lost to the Marlins 4-0 and ended their season in probably the most painful way that, since I have been alive, I want to say. 2022, at least we made the playoffs. I mean, 2016 really hurt. But at least we were in the playoffs. Missing the playoffs and having an avenue to get in and still coming up short because you can't put runs on the board against the Miami Marlins is almost like mind-blowing. The Reds lost. All you need to do is win today against the Miami Marlins, who has a team of complete rookies besides their pitching staff. The entire outfield is rookies. The catcher is either rookie or is a second-year player. They're basically a double-A team, and the Mets cannot beat them. Xavier Edwards looks like Ozzie Smith every time the balls hit to him. I mean, it is unfathomable what the Mets just did this season. I'm going to be doing a deep dive into this collapse. And it all starts with the starting pitching. And you know what that starts at? That starts at the top with David Stearns. Last year when Stearns got here, I was very happy. Right? He's a good mind. Had a lot of success in Milwaukee. And I expected him to really use his full repertoire of what he has at his fingertips with Steve Cohen's budget. But he used the same strategies in New York that he did in Milwaukee. Why? Milwaukee is not a big market team. Therefore, they don't have the budget. And Stearns was playing Moneyball, right? Why are you doing that with the Mets? You have Steve Cohen, who's willing to throw money at anybody if he thinks that they're going to help the Mets win. Like, am I right or am I wrong? They signed Juan Soto. Gave him the largest contract in North American sports history of any player. So you would think that Stearns would reciprocate that through the whole team. But instead, he signs Frankie Montas. He signs Paul Blackburn. He signs Griffin Canning, which I love Griffin Canning, but at the time, he had a 5-something ERA, had the highest ERA of any starting pitcher. So at that time, that was not a great move. Right? We can all agree. Clay Holmes was a project, even though Clay Holmes was great this year. I don't care what anyone says. For what he was supposed to be, he was fucking great. Right? But to really understand the level of collapse this was, I'm going to go through their stats and their record by month. Right? So March they were 2-2, whatever. March is 4 games. It doesn't really matter. Right? April they went 19-8. They scored 133 runs. The pitching ERA was a 2.68, second lowest in the league. Excuse me. They had an OPS of 753, batting average of 255, not very good. On base percentage 329. And slugger of 424. Right? So, at that time, it was the pitching that was carrying you, right? They have the second lowest ERA, team ERA in the league, and they go 19-8. In May, they go 15-12. So they start out the first 2 months, great. We all know this, right? 107 runs scored. Still not a lot. They scored less runs in May than they did in April. But their pitching was still stellar. They had a 3.08 team ERA while batting a 743 OPS. June, their first losing record. They went 12-15 with only scoring 113 runs and a team ERA of 3.19, which is still third in the league. So 12-15, and in June, the bats didn't wake up. And that was really the story of the whole year. Right? The bats were not waking up. The bats weren't waking up. Soto's got to start hitting. Lindor's got to start hitting. The bottom of the lineup has to do something. It was all Pete. Right? Like, let's not forget that Pete Alonso was worth maybe, I think, 10, maybe 20 wins in the beginning of the year. He was batting like 368 at some point. Like, he was the only guy that was fucking hitting and coming up clutch and coming through and getting the big hit when the Mets needed it. That's why you have to re-sign Pete Alonso. I'm going to go on to that later on. But in July, they went 14-10, and their pitching ERA was a 3.99, which ranked 12th. So, from June to July, you dropped down 9 spots in ERA. But 12th is still not that bad, right? There's 30 teams in the league. 12 isn't a catastrophic number. But listen to these batting stats. In July, the Mets batted overall a .225 average, a .304 on-base percentage, and a .381 slug with an OPS of .685. That's not good. That's just not good. That's the month that they didn't hit. That's the month that everyone wanted Chavez fired. But somehow they got out of there, and the pitching was decent enough to hold them over and come out with a winning record somehow, a 14-10. But everybody saw the warning signs really coming. Right? So the pitching started to go downhill, and it continued to do that in August. In July, like I said, the Mets team ERA was a 3.99, and they ranked 12th. In August, the team ERA was a 4.97, and it ranked 25th in the league. 25th, from 12th to 25th in the league. And they went 11-17. But this is the part that sucks the most. This is the part that is the worst. They scored 177 runs, which is a franchise high. Their OPS was .866 as a team. Their batting average was .285 as a team. Their on-base was .361 as a team. And their slugging was over .500 as a team in the month of August. And they went 11-17. If they had the pitching from July even, if they were ranked when they were ranked the 12th, I think that they would have been at least above 500. And a few more of those wins would easily get us into the playoffs. Right? I'm thinking of those games against the Nationals that they couldn't put away. I'm thinking of those games against the Mariners when the final score was like 11-9. Like, you scored 9 runs, but you allow the other team to score 11. That's just fucking embarrassing. It starts with the pitching, right? People ask me a few times, would I rather have really good pitching and bad hitting, or bad pitching and really good hitting? And I always said good pitching. Because you can always score a lot of runs, but it's so much harder for you to score runs. But if you hold your opponents, you can always scratch out a run. And it's evident in the stats. The Mets are winning when their pitching is doing better. And when they're scoring franchise high runs and they have these ridiculous team stats, but their pitching is the highest it's been, a 4.97 ERA, they go 11-17. They scored 177 runs in August, and they went 11-17. That's how bad the pitching was. And September, no change in the ERA, but they went down a peg in ranking. They were ranked 26th, but still had a 4.97 ERA. They went 10-14 in September, scored 116 runs, and had 730 OPS, 244 batting average, 314 on-base percentage, and a 416 slug. So, it was a steady decline. It was a steady fall. The Mets started out hot. I feel like they had that magic from 2024. And then, all of a sudden, they just fell off a fucking cliff. June was a rough month, and I thought it was just a June swoon. I thought that they were going to get out of it. Right, because there's always that rough there's that rough patch. There's always that rough month for any baseball team, right? 12-15, it sucks, but it could be worse. Right? But in July, you come back and you go 14-10. You think, okay, they're on the right track again. And then August, you go 11-17, 6 games below 500 for the month. And September, you go 10-4, 4 games below 500 for the month. You let the Reds stick around. You let the Giants stick around. You let the Diamondbacks stick around. All because you can't pitch. And all because David Stearns put together a terrible pitching roster. Terrible. But I don't want to I want to put all the blame on Stearns here. Because the players need to take some fucking accountability too. Let's look at Sean Manaea. Sean Manaea last year. I don't even have to talk about his stats from last year, his impact. We all know he was the ace from last year. He was the Mets ace. Going into the playoffs, and through the last part of the season, he was the ace. Every time Sean Manaea went on the mound, I felt good they were going to win. You just felt that they were going to win. So in July, after he came after injury, he went 1-1, pitched with 2.08 ERA. Fine, good. 2 starts. That's just 2 good starts, right? You lost in Kansas City, but you know what? Whatever. You lose that game. First start back, he pitched 4 or 5 innings. Doesn't really count that. But let's go to August, when he was really starting to have to get back into the groove. In August, he went 0-1, which I know pitching, we don't really care about wins and losses, but it's just to mention. Pitched to a 7.13 ERA in the month of August. I'll say that again. A 7.13 in the month of August for Sean Manaea. Now you hear that, and think, okay, damn. 7.13 is pretty fucking high, right? But wait till you hear September stats. September, he went 1-2 and pitched to a 7.64 ERA. So his ERA jumped up by 51 points. 0.51 points, I should say. And in the last 7 days, he had an ERA of 11.25. Became almost unpitchable. Along with the rest of these guys I'm about to mention. Just becoming completely unpitchable. And, it's not like he was a rookie. Right? If it was a rookie coming back, if Christian Scott comes back next year and he gets to a rough start, I understand, because he was a rookie and he's coming off injury. But Sean Manaea is a veteran pitcher in this league. A veteran journeyman pitcher. When you always say that you're healthy, you should be expected to perform to your highest level. Maybe not to your highest level, but competently. 7.64 ERA is not competent. That's unpitchable. If you're in a playoff race and you're trying to win games, that is unacceptable. Now let's go to Kodai Senga. Kodai Senga started out this year as a Cy Young candidate. Had the lowest ERA. He was not qualified, but he was a few innings short because he would not pitch deep in the games. Neither of any of these pitchers, right? That's another problem that I don't have written down here, but I just want to mention really quick. Besides David Peterson in the first half, what pitcher went more than 5 innings? Clay Holmes didn't. Senga didn't. Griffin Canning, I think he went 6 one time against the Cardinals. Besides David Peterson, he's the only guy that would go deep in the games. And that killed the bullpen early on. Okay. But back to Kodai Senga. In April, his ERA was a 1.26. Amazing. May, a 1.89. Amazing. June, 0.77. And I think that June is when he got hurt. Right, so that's looks a little better than it is. So he missed a few months, missed a few weeks. Didn't seem like anything. I don't want to say didn't seem like anything major. When I think about major, I think of season ending, out for multiple months. He came back relatively soon. I think it was a hamstring strain, but it was nothing crazy. When he came back in July, he pitched to a 5.25 ERA. In August, it was a 6.18 ERA. And the last 30 days, it was a 9.64 ERA for Kodai Senga. Again, a guy that became unpitchable. Unpitchable. Again, when you're in a playoff race and you are trying to contend for a playoff spot, that is unacceptable. That's unpitchable. You can't. And what bothered me the most is that they waited so long to call up McLean. All year, McLean, I listened to this other podcast, Locked on Mets, and he does a lot of stuff about the Mets minor leagues. And McLean was that guy all year in the minors. All year. And they waited so damn long to call him up. So, Sean Manaea and Kodai Senga, in the months of August, Manaea pitched to a 7.13 ERA, and Kodai Senga pitched to a 6.18 ERA. And Manaea's last 7 days was 11.25, and Kodai Senga's last 30 days was a 9.64. 2 guys that are, again, unpitchable. So that knocks out 2 guys that you can't throw out of the mound. Now let's look at David Peterson. All-star David Peterson. March, 3 ERA. April, 3.08 ERA. May, 2.3 ERA. Great. Love David Peterson. He's the man. June, 4.55. He had a few rough starts, I think, against the Brewers, the one against the Pirates. Peterson had a few rough starts, but after that, he came back in July and pitched to a 1.05 ERA. And I think he was. I know he was named to the All-Star team. But after the All-Star break, in August, he pitched with 6.68 ERA. September was a 9.72. In his last 7 days, there was a 33.75. Yes, you heard me correct. Last 7 days, or games, I don't know really what StatMuse goes off of. I looked at it quickly. But his last 7 days, David Peterson's ERA is a 33.75. 33.75. That's how bad David Peterson was this past few months. So, Manaea, Senga, and Peterson became unpitchable. That's on them. That is not on David Stearns. That is on them. That is on Sean Manaea. That is on Kodai Senga. That is on David Peterson. I understand not going out and getting big name pitchers because they do get hurt. And you have these guys that you think are supposed to be your guys. Sean Manaea last year was an ace. Kodai Senga beginning of this year was an ace. David Peterson the first half of this year was ace-like. Was an ace. He was your all-star. And in the second half, they just became dumpster fires. So I don't blame Stearns for not going out and getting a starting pitcher at the deadline, especially with how crazy the market was for it. I mean, with how bad these guys were, in retrospect, you could say he should have got out and got a starting pitcher. But you look at the stats and you go off of last season and parts of this season, you don't expect these guys to collapse completely. Right now, signing Frankie Montas and Paul Blackburn is one thing, and relying on them to be starters, competent starters, is one thing. I mean, I don't know why anyone was excited for Paul Blackburn. I don't know why anyone was excited for Frankie Montas. But, you know, Manaea was hurt, and Senga was hurt, so they didn't really have a lot of options if you want your guys in the minor leagues to develop. I do think they could have brought up Noah McLean earlier. I do think they could have brought up Brandon Sprout a little bit earlier. And I think Jonah Tong was very rushed. But in the situation that they were in, he had to do that. Right? Like, it was embarrassing enough that the Mets had to rely upon 3 rookies to try and carry them into the postseason. And they almost made it. But the offense didn't come through like it hadn't the whole year, besides August, and that's when the pitching didn't come through. And then in September, it was just a mix of both. They couldn't hit, they couldn't pitch. Now, I do want to give a shout-out to the most consistent starting pitcher we had all year. I'm not going to count the rookies. I'm not going to count McLean. I'm not going to count Sprout. I'm not going to count Tong. Clay Holmes all deserves an apology from all of us. Myself especially. I like Clay Holmes, and I didn't like Clay Holmes. He pitched great, and then he pitched terrible. But he was more consistent than any of the other starters. In March, he was a 3.86 ERA. April was a 2.42 ERA. May was a 3.34 ERA. June was a 2.93 ERA. July was a 4.91. August was a 4.32. September was a 3.09. He never went over 5 ERA. July was as high as the 4.91. But honestly, 4.91 from anybody else, I would take. And I think that gets us at least 10 more wins. Clay Holmes deserves an apology. Next year, he's going to be great as a 4th, 5th pitcher. And I think that this is one of the signings that Stearns made that really, really, really worked out. So the story for the Mets this year was when they can hit, they can't pitch. When they can't pitch, they can't hit. And when they can pitch, they can't hit. I mean, it just seemed like they could never cohesively get it going together, which really, really fucking sucked. Right? But even when the starting pitching did do good, the bullpen was terrible. I mean, I would have to even pull up Ryan Helsley's stats for you guys to know that he was fucking terrible, along with Cedric Mullins. I mean, that's another thing. The trade deadline, again, I'm not going to blame Stearns for it, because we were all happy with the trade deadline, were we not? We were happy we got Tyler Rogers. I was fucking excited about Ryan Helsley, man. I was so happy about Ryan Helsley, and he was fucking terrible. I was like, on Cedric Mullins, but then I was like, you know what? Tyron Taylor has been doing pretty bad. I think Mullins can't be worse, and he was somehow worse. But Ryan Helsley was just awful. He looked better a little bit down the stretch. Tyler Rogers was very mid. I was expecting so much more from Tyler Rogers. But every time I watched him, he seemed to give up a run. And I was just like, people are saying that he's been doing good, he's been doing great. I'm like, this guy is not. Like, yeah, he pitches all the time. That's great for availability, but you're giving up runs whenever you get in. And, like, they bring him in close games. He gives up one run, he ties it, or he gets them close, or he gets up the lead. I was like, Tyler Rogers has not been doing good. And Cedric Mullins, like, I think he's batting 176 since he was being a Met. Like, there's no. Who gives a shit about Cedric Mullins? Right? The guy I do want to point out, though, was a guy that was terrible all year. That he should have been DFA'd in May. And that's Ryan Stanek. Ryan Stanek this year, as a reliever, has a 5.01 ERA with a 1.54 WHIP. In April, his ERA was 5.59. In June, it was 6.23. And in August, he has had a 12.38 ERA as a fucking relief pitcher. 12.38. Ryan Stanek. Why did you not bring up Dylan Ross earlier? They brought him up this year and didn't even fucking use him. He was there. He was ready. He was waiting to go. He was in AAA all fucking year. And you kept Ryan Stanek on this roster. That's unacceptable. That's the part of David Stearns that pissed me off. It's not the moves that he made or didn't make. It's his shyness or incompetence of not cutting the guys and making tough decisions that need to be made. Because Ryan Stanek had no room on this roster all year. He was awful. He would have a few good moments, but besides that, he was awful. Think about all the games that he blew. In Washington, right? The Mets were up, 8-0 at one point? And in the bottom of the ninth, he comes in and lets up 4 runs, and the Mets lose that game against the fucking Nationals. You win that game, you're in the playoffs right now. Think about all those close games, and that's why I hate when people say, oh, it's just April, it's just May, it doesn't really matter. Yes, it does. Because look, the Mets missed the playoffs by a game. You win one of those games against the Nationals, you win one of those games against the Mariners, against the Pirates, when they lost the series to the fucking Pirates. I think they got swept by the Pirates, right? You win any of those games, you're in the playoffs right now. And people are like, oh, it's just April, it's just May, it's just August, no, it's just April, just May. Like, a win in September and August counts the same as April, May, and March. Like, it's true. You win any of those games, you're in the playoffs right now, but no. They keep Ryan Stanek for some reason. I really don't understand it. He was awful the whole year. And Dylan Ross was ready. He was a 20th ranked prospect, but he was a number 1 bullpen arm. I don't know why you wouldn't bring him up. He couldn't have done any worse, but instead you bring up guys like Alex Corello, Zach Pop. I mean, the guys they brought up that were great, Brandon Waddell, Chris Davinsky, Austin Warren. Like, those guys were great, don't get me wrong. And they were all better than fucking Stanek. All those guys were better than Stanek. Like, don't give me this fresh arm bullshit. Like, I understand that, yes. But when you have a guy in your bullpen that's terrible and unreliable, he needs to go. If there's someone that cannot be fucking worse, you gotta try. You gotta try. You should be trying to win all the time. You should be trying to win every game. And that would piss me off the most when they'd be down by 4 or 5 runs and they just punt the game away. Just put out some random dude from Syracuse, let him throw 4 scoreless innings, and the bats just don't do shit. Because it feels like at that moment, like when the manager is punting the game and you know that he's just throwing this guy out to save the bullpen, then the bats give up too. Like, the bats just stop trying. They say, okay, we can lose this game. So that's what I hate about punting games. But Ryan Stanek had no room on this roster the whole year. He was terrible in April. He was terrible in May. He was terrible June, July, August, September, October, and he blew the fucking game today, letting up 4 runs, whatever it was. However many runs he let up. Terrible. Terrible all year. Awful. No room on this roster. I just don't know what they were doing. with keeping Ryan Stanek on this roster. Now, it is hard to jump on Stearns and the management without recognizing a lot of the notable injuries that they had this year. I mean, Danny Young was out for the year with ACL. You lost A.J. Minter. Griffin Canning got hurt. You lost Dednell Nunez. You lost Max Kranick, who looked fucking great in the beginning of the year. Christian Scott was done for the year. You lost Drew Smith. Jesse Winker played 15-something games. Reed Garrett late in the year. You lost McGill, who I know Tyler McGill was not a difference maker, but you know what? And he probably would have been just as bad as the rest of them, but who knows? Down the stretch, you needed anybody at that point. Tyler McGill would have been great to have, I think. And the last 2 games, you lost Beatty. Not that I don't think Beatty would have made much of a difference, but I think he would have made a better difference than Ronnie Mauricio did. But, you know, it is tough to navigate those kind of injuries, especially to starting pitching. There's only so many guys you can get to replace them. But it's just rough. It's just rough, you know. And I don't want to make excuses, but at the same time, like, I don't know what you want them to do. Right? Like, a lot of people dog on Mendoza. And I will, like, there's 100%. There's times when I question Mendoza. I question what he's doing, especially with his bullpen. But there's some points in the season when it seemed like every move that he make was questioned, and it turned out negatively. But at that same time, when your entire bullpen sucks and nobody is good besides your closer and Brooks Raley, what do you want him to do? Right? If Stanek sucks, if Helsley sucks, if Rogers sucks, if Soto sucks, Gregory Soto, that is, if, you know, whoever else they have in the bullpen was terrible, like, every move he makes is going to be wrong. I mean, there's no right move for him to make. So that was the things that just kind of, like, irked me. I was like, what do you expect Carlos Mendoza to do here if everyone he puts in sucks and the bats don't hit? Right? And there's blame on Mendoza. I don't know why he started Cedric Mullins against Sandy Alcantara. I really don't care about his career stats. You had to ride the hot hand, and Tyrone Taylor had a double and 2-3 RBIs the night before. I get he just came off injury, but you're fighting for a playoff spot. You had to put your best guys out there. And I think Tyrone on a freshly hurt hamstring is better than Cedric Mullins at all. I don't think no one's going to disagree with me on that. The Mets win when Tyrone Taylor was in the lineup. They did win today, but that was the common trend. Whenever Cedric Mullins was in the lineup, they fucking lost. And it's so frustrating to see them keep putting Cedric Mullins out there, which is how bad he was. And not Tyrone Taylor. I know Taylor got hurt, but oh my god, it had to be somebody else. I liked the lineup when they had Nimmo in center and Marte in left. I think that at least gets you a better bat. And Nimmo isn't too far off of Cedric Mullins defensively, I want to say. At least he's played center field before. But, you know, that's what it comes down to. The players have to perform. Mendoza, he can't hit. He can't pitch. He can't come out of the bullpen. So, I really think that he did try his best. I mean, I think he pitched Ryan Stanek way too much. That's the one thing I will say for him. And I like him trying to change around the lineup. But I also think he changed around almost too much. You know, I think he should have had to try to get a set lineup that involved Pete hitting 4. Started hitting 3. I mean, I didn't even like Brandon Nimmo in the cleanup spot at all. But, you know, at the end of the day, if you're the player, you got to hit where you're put. Enough of this mental bullshit like, oh, this guy hits better when he's the third batter or the fourth batter or the fifth batter. I'm like, dude, fuck that. You come up to the plate, you hit the fucking ball. Like, that's the thing I just don't understand about baseball. Like, that's like the mental part of it. Everyone just says, oh, it's just baseball. Anything can happen. It's like why does a guy do better when he's up in the order or down in the order? Like, it makes no sense to me. But the thing that this team missed the most was heart. I'll say that again. The thing that this team missed the most was heart. They had no heart. Last year, the team was full of heart. They never gave up. Last year, watching those games down the stretch, it felt like the Mets were never out of a game. Like they could be down 8-0 going to the ninth, and I would still have like legitimate hope that they could come back and win. And sometimes they did. A lot of times they did. They had a lot of comeback wins last year, and for them to start out so bad and then climb up like they did, like that was magical, right? And that showed heart in a team, a team that didn't give up. That even when the vibes were low, they still tried, and they were still pushing, they were still fighting. And I really think one of the worst things Stearns did this year was letting Jose Iglesias walk. I don't care how bad he was hitting. He was never about his performance on the field. It's crazy how much a difference maker in the clubhouse a guy is, right? Like, he was the spark plug of that whole last year. 100%. And you let that guy walk. Like, I understand trying to get the rookies to play, but he could have took someone else's spot. He could have taken Mauricio's spot. I mean, Mauricio was fucking useless down the stretch. He sat on the bench the whole year. I would rather have Jose Iglesias in the clubhouse and taking Mauricio's spot than having him not in the clubhouse. And look what happened. You know, I think when the Mets were going rough, Jose Iglesias would have kept the spirits high. But it just seemed that everyone on that team just put their heads down in shame and just shrugged it off and like, yeah, we'll get it going at some point. Just lazy. No heart. Like, how do you not have a single comeback win? The Rockies have comeback wins. The White Sox have comeback wins in the 8th inning. But the Mets trailing in the 8th inning go 0-67. That seems almost impossible. Like, you get lucky. Sometimes you just get lucky and you come back and win in the 8th inning. But you don't. The Mets didn't this year. And that's just... I don't even know what to say. Is it shit luck? Is it the team? Is it God hating us? Like, I don't understand it. Like, sometimes you just win by accident. I mean, sometimes teams just make the mistakes and throw the ball away. And you scratch out a winning run. But that just never happened this year for the Mets. Never happened. And that's the most embarrassing part. You have no heart. You have no fight. Never get the job done. Never come up with a big hit in the clutch when you need it. This team had no clutch. Soto had no clutch. All I heard about was how clutch Soto is. No clutch from Soto. Little clutch from Lindor this year. A lot of clutch from Pete Alonso, but not in the biggest moments, I want to say. I don't want to dog on Pete too much because he was probably our best player all year. Hitting-wise. I mean, not hitting-wise, clutchness-wise. I think Pete Alonso had the most clutch moments. He came through the biggest hits, like, consistently through the whole year. Right, looking at pure stats, Soto was our best hitter. But judging the eye test, Pete had the most clutch moments. Now that I mentioned Soto, I want to bring up his stats. My trusty little book right here. Soto had a great year. I don't want to discredit it. 40 home runs, almost 40 stolen bases. Pete, almost 40 home runs. Lindor, 30-something home runs. But looking at Soto's home runs, he had 43 home runs. 31 of them were solo shots. 10 of them were 2-run shots. He had 1 3-run home run and 1 grand slam. So out of the 43 home runs that Juan Soto hit, 31 of them were solo shots. Did I say that right? The 43 home runs he hit, 31 were solo shots. I understand his game is getting on base, having a great eye. But in some situations, like when there's a guy on second base and 2 outs in the 8th inning, and you are the highest paid athlete in North America, swing the bat. Please swing the bat. Please don't look at pitchers trying to get a walk and trying to get it to the next guy. You are that guy. Right? If you're Brandon Nimmo, or if you're Brett Beatty, or if you're Francisco Alvarez, then yeah, you know what? Try and get a walk. But when you are Juan Soto, you are who you are. I want you to be aggressive, and I want you to swing the bat and try to get the guy home. If you ground out, better than strike out looking. If you pop up, better than a strikeout looking. If you fly out, better than a strikeout looking. What pisses me off the most is when you strike out looking in a tough situation, when you're down by a run, down by 2 runs, the game is tied, and you have a guy at second base with 2 outs, 1 out, and you try to draw a walk. I'm sorry if that pisses a lot of baseball fans off, that Glaze OPS and on-base percentage and walks. But there are certain guys in your lineup that you need to come through in clutch moments that you pay the big bucks for, and Soto's one of them, and I don't really know what clutch moments he had. Besides Detroit, the one game in Detroit. But when there's a guy on second or a guy in scoring position, and you need someone to get a hit, and Juan Soto is up, I expect Juan Soto to try and get that hit and not try to get a walk. Like, you pass the baton along to your best player, the baton should stop at Juan Soto. It should stop at Juan Soto. Sorry. I mean, he did that with the Yankees. He did that with the Nationals. He did it for a little bit with the Padres. I mean, that's what you paid all this money for. To be that guy in those situations. And you're looking for a walk. That pisses me off. That really annoys me. And I don't know who's going to agree with me on this, who's not going to agree with me. But I don't think it's crazy to say that in the toughest situations, you want your best guys at the plate, and you want them being aggressive and trying to get the hit. Don't go down looking. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You know what I mean? Now, I'm going to go a little bit, look ahead to next season. There's a few guys I want gone. There's a few guys I'd give another year to. I think they should re-sign Pete. I really think so. He's your career home run leader. He has to stay. I know he just opted out, but how you not re-sign that guy? Lindor's here, Nimmo's here, Soto's here. You can get rid of McNeil, trade him away. You trade away Mauricio. If he's going to rot on your bench, trade him away. You could try and trade away Acuna, but if you don't, I think he's a great fielder and base runner. I give Vientos another year. I think if Vientos is having the year he had at the deadline, there's no question that you trade him. Because that type of power doesn't just go away from 2024. In a sophomore slump, terrible sophomore slump, but you can't. I don't want to give up on the guy just yet. Especially if Pete walks, you need someone to play first base. Alvarez will stay. I really don't think there's a better option at catcher than Alvarez, to be honest. Like, who are you going to sign? I don't even know free agent catchers. You're not going to trade for a catcher. You know, I don't know. They should bring up Jet Williams to play in McNeil's spot, whether that's center field or whether that's second base. And Carson Bench should be your starting center fielder next year. I mean, like, you need to get younger, right? So I think my perfect opening day lineup would be Alonso, Jet Williams at second base, Lindor, Beatty at third, Alvarez catching, Nimmo in left, Bench in center, and Soto in right field, and Vientos DHing. I mean, look at a team like the Boston Red Sox, right? They're super young. Roman Anthony is a stud. Jarren Duran's very young. They bought up a few other young guys. They're a very young team, and look at them. They're in the wild card spot. They have an ace pitcher, Garrett Crochet, and I think McLean is going to be on that level next year. You need an ace, competent pitching, and I think you infuse some youth in this core of Alonso, Nimmo, Lindor, and Soto with Benj, Williams, and with the three kids pitching. Before I say that, I think Tonks will start the year out in AAA, and then bring him up later on. So, what was I going to say? Sorry. Yeah, Benj and Williams should be in this team next year. I think if Pete goes, you should bring up Ryan Clifford, or maybe like in April, May, in June, you bring up Ryan Clifford. Just see what you have. He's a power hitting lefty first baseman. But you know, you need to get younger at this point. I mean, Lindor's not getting any younger. Nimmo's definitely not getting any younger. And I think injecting some youth into this team could really, really bring something, like kids that want to go out and they want to win and they want to prove themselves. And to be fair, listen, they're going to be fighting for contracts, right? Everyone wants to get paid the big bucks. None of them are paid yet. Right? They're going to want to go out and prove themselves. Like that's the thing that kind of comes with, I feel, veterans, right? Like Alonso's got his money, Soto's got his fucking money, Nimmo got his money, Lindor got his money. At this point, it's kind of just like, yeah, no, blah blah blah, guy. These young guys are hungry; they want it. I mean, look at the Marlins; they're all rookies, and for what everyone expects of the Marlins, they had a great year. They had a great year. They were only eliminated 3 days ago. Did you expect that from the Miami Marlins this year? You thought they would be eliminated in April. But they're scrappy. They're a young group, and they're trying to prove themselves. And I think you need some of that in this organization now. I think the rotation starting next year should be McLean, Sprout, Christian Scott, Manaea, and Holmes. I think you bring up Tong later in the year and ship off. It depends on how Manaea's doing. If he's doing great, keep him. If he's not, fucking send him off. I mean, just get younger. That's what I want to see from the Mets. Just get younger. Keep the core four and get younger. And you know what? Just hope. Just believe. Well, that's about all I got. I mean, the disappointing doesn't even really, like, doesn't even describe this year. Especially with the expectations of last year and how they start off. But I do look ahead at next year with some very positive things if they make the right moves. I think they do have a very bright future ahead of them. Also with a very good farm system. And I think they really need to lean into these rookies a lot more. But that's all I got. Just want to say thank you to anyone listening to this and everyone that's following my page. Like, I words can express like how shocked I am with like how far my page has gotten. And it's nothing crazy. It's not like 100K. It's nothing like ridiculous. But like this account, when I didn't even make it. It was my like second account just to fuck around with my friends. I'm like, you know what? My friends really want to talk about the Mets a lot. Like I want to try to make an account where I can talk to people about the Mets all the time, whether it's 6 people or 6,000 as it is now. Right, like 6,000 people is a lot. One person's a lot. I don't want to like diminish and saying that less is better or more is better, right? There's 6,100 some people that follow my account and listen to what I have to say and appreciate me. And that's like the best feeling in the world. I hope it keeps going up. I hope you guys enjoy everything that I'm doing. I've been working pretty hard, I do have to say. But it, like everyone that listens to this and everyone that follows my account just keeps me pushing and like really motivates me to keep going. And I love everybody. Like even the trolls that follow my account, just a troll, like they're there, you know, and they're helping me grow. So thank you, everybody. Love all of you. Let's go Mets till next year. I'm gonna do some I'm gonna do some more pods during the season, off season I should say. But for right now, I will see you when I see you. Thank you all, love you all, and see you in 2026.